8:10. Welcome back. The obesity epidemic has been described as the biggest health crisis of the 21st century. Experts have tried to tackle it using diets and, in some cases, extreme surgery.
But today, for the first time, a conference will hear that the key to reducing overeating is to look at the emotional causes. In a minute, we're going to be talking to Josie Gibson and psychologist Emma Kenny.
But first, Catherine Baldwin was an emotional overeater for 3 decades.
What I wanted to do initially was lose weight. I didn't feel good enough. I didn't feel loved enough. I didn't feel like I was special. You know, my dad moved out and maybe I thought if I was thin, maybe he would come back. And I thought by controlling my food, I would have some control over my life. But then when I was about 16, it flipped the other way. And all of a sudden I started to binge. I remember being here in my flat and eating the dry muesli and the dry oats until it would get stuck in my throat. But just carrying on, and like my stomach would be hurting, but I just wanted to keep putting it in, and then just sort of rolling onto the floor and crying. There was a pain so deep and a hole so big that I just had to keep filling it, but then nothing could fill it.
Well, we're joined by Josie Gibson, who struggled with her weight for years, and psychologist Emma Kenny as well. So, Josie, just remind us, because you do look like you've lost a lot of weight since we saw you on Big Brother. How much have you lost, roughly?
Well, when I come out of the house, I was like nearly 17 stone. And everybody said, how did you get that big? How did you get back that big? But it's all about educating yourself, and it's so easily done. And we're all different, we're all built different, but it's just so easily done.
And now you're around 10 stone, so you've lost a good 6 stone, which is an extraordinary achievement. And you feel that it was an actual addiction for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, I didn't realise, because I was going to the supermarket and I was buying stuff with no fat, so I thought it would be okay, and not realising it was full of sugar. So that's what got me in the end. I didn't realise, and most of the population are sugar addicts. So sugar is a drug. So when you take a drug, you have that high. When you have a drug, then you come down. Then what do you do when you're coming down? You want to eat, indulge to like curb those emotions. So
do you think there were emotional issues at the core, though?
I think my diet had a lot to do with causing those emotional issues. So I was depressed, I couldn't sleep properly, but the biggest thing that got me out of it was the exercise, because it actually broke the whole cycle. So I couldn't have done it without the exercise.
And if you're addicted to food, of course, it's everywhere, isn't it?
Is in everything. Imagine being addicted to heroin and you go into a garage, you go to a train station and you're surrounded by heroin. That's exactly what it was like being a sugar addict.
And you can't completely stop eating, so you can't cut it out of your life. It's a complex one, isn't it?
It's so difficult, and they trick you. Like they don't tell you how much sugar is in actual things you're purchasing. So it's like a trickery. So you're getting fat without realising, and then the sugar actually makes you fatter because it destroys your leptin gland, which tells you that you're full up. So it actually makes you hungrier, which puts on more weight. So
Emma, gastric band isn't the answer.
No.
Talking about it is the answer.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that gastric bands are there because some people are so out of control that it's a way of helping them on that journey to talking about their emotions. We are emotional eaters, because if you think about the very beginning of our experience as children, the approval a child receives when they've completed eating their food, and the way that we advertise food, which is always this relationship which we're really enjoying it, and of course that means that food isn't in its place. What Josie said is absolutely eloquent as regards things like sugar addiction, the tolerance that people start to develop. We know people need more of it, but also the way that our society is struggling with food. We can see this because the obesity epidemic demonstrates that we are out of control, and the only way to truly deal with these things is to talk about it, to explore why we have that relationship, to fundamentally change our relationship with food, and to educate, of course, parents in the way that they demonstrate eating behaviours to their children.
Well, the key is prevention, isn't it?
Absolutely. We are lucky. In the UK, we are lucky. We have people like BEAT. We have organisations who are here to help people with eating disorders, but very much from the beginning of time to inspire confidence and resilience in our children, to encourage healthy eating patterns.
Hard, though, isn't it? Because very often parents, we're not perfect. You know, we're caught in the same traps ourselves. And even though gastric bands, you say, are not the answer, for some people, they do change their lives.
Absolutely.
And they're a brilliant health saver. When it gets to a point where your health is at risk,
when you may die,
they can really,
absolutely.
they can really change it.
I think that that's what's fantastic about the UK. We have these programmes, but I don't think people are given gastric gastric bands willy-nilly. It has to be for a purpose, and there has to be therapy engaging with that. But it comes down to absolutely what you've said, that eating is an emotional experience for many people. We have to break that cycle. We have to educate people that food has to be in its place, that exercise is primarily a way of gaining health benefits through your life. And of course, nobody wants to be hugely overweight, nobody, because it's uncomfortable and it's unhealthy. And that means that those people aren't making choices that are positive because they want to, it's because they're stuck in a cycle. And it's about educating them outside of that.
Both of you, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
All the best to you.